There you are. Welcome to episode 6 of Crimson Dawn, Ashes of Reality. Things are changing. Mira is changing, and the line between hero and something completely different is starting to blur. If you're enjoying the journey, enjoying the tales of Professor Shadow, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment on the videos to help me grow this channel and continue to bring you these amazing tales from the shadows. And if you'd like to go deeper into the darkness, you can always join as a channel member. And I appreciate all those who are already channel members. Thank you so much for your support. It is you who drives this channel. And for those daring to go deeper, wanting more, you can head over to my unique Crimson Dawn site and become a member there to go deep into the world of Crimson Dawn with the original stories, original audiobooks, and even reaction videos of me watching the story along with you, explaining why and how I created the tales. Now let's see what she's becoming in Crimson Dawn, Ashes of Reality, episode 6. The location was deep beneath the mountain ranges, once invisible to even the most advanced scanners, a hidden sanctuary, buried behind layers of false signals, rotating access codes, and shadow encryption. But now, nothing was hidden from Mira Winter, not anymore. This was another of Simon Winter's safe houses, one of many scattered across the dead world. But this one held more than weapons or walls. This one held potential. Weeks had passed since she left the farmhouse. In that time, Mira had not slept. Her skin had paled. Her voice had become quieter. Her eyes, once wide with emotion, now only narrowed with calculation. She was not cruel. She was not unkind. But humanity, that warm thing people held on to, was drifting further from her reach. What would take geniuses a lifetime to master, Mira had done in minutes. Across the lab, a schematic flickered on a holoscreen, once designed by Simon Winter as a cure for Alzheimer's. The formula had been incomplete, unstable, dismissed. Mira had restructured it, rewritten it. Now it was no longer a cure, but a bridge, one that unlocked full cognitive expansion, increased memory retention, strategic processing, puzzle mapping, and absolute neural acceleration. She had taken her father's dream and made it divine. She stood before a massive digital map, hand tracing invisible lines. Dotted locations pulsed across the surface. One blinked brighter. A cave system, far to the north. Another of his hideaways, perhaps, or a den of lycans, she murmured. Her voice was low, emotionless. I will find out why you left me alone, Father. She adjusted her glove, now heavily enhanced, its outer shell laced with compact tech, pulsing quietly with faint blue veins of light. One turn of a dial. She was gone. The shadows folded in on themselves, and Mira vanished. The northern cave system. Snow whipped around the mountainside. Then silently, like a whisper, Mira appeared at the cave entrance. Her cloak fluttered behind her, untouched by cold. She stepped inside. No fear, no hesitation. The air grew heavy, rank, thick with rot. She descended, deeper and deeper into the twisting caverns. She heard the soft sound of breathing, slow, heavy, guttural. Then she saw them, a den of lycans, dozens, maybe more, sleeping. She stood above them, eyes scanning their movements, heart rate, scent responses. Where's the fun in you dying in your sleep? She said, then louder. Wake up.
The lycans stirred. They snarled. They sniffed. Then they saw her, and to them she was nothing but prey. They charged in a blur of rage and hunger. Mira raised her hand. One flick. They dropped. Every one of them. Limbs twitching, unconscious. She stepped through their crumpled bodies. "I hope that felt good," she said quietly. Further in. The cavern narrowed. Light faded. She activated her glove, casting a soft glow around the walls. Bones, piles of them. Not just humans. Lycan remains. She knelt near one, brushed her hand along a shattered jawbone. It had claw marks, bite marks, ripped clean through. "So, you don't starve," she said. "You eat each other. Rival clans, rival packs. That's how the balance is kept." She stood. "Even the beasts have their version of order." She pressed deeper into the shadows, her presence no longer a whisper, but something the darkness feared. And ahead, something waited, something ancient. But Mira didn't slow. She simply said, "Let's see what secrets you buried down here, Father." The air grew colder, the deeper Mira went. She passed piles of decay, bones of humans, lycans, and beasts twisted beyond recognition. The walls were no longer stone, but slick with some ancient black residue, thick with rot and damp with silence. Then she saw it. A cage, rusted, heavy, reinforced with archaic glyphs and silver-laced chainwork. It pulsed with something primal, something restrained. Inside a lycan pup, small, barely breathing. Its fur was matted with blood and mud, and a thick iron collar pulled it to the floor. Fresh lash marks crisscrossed its back. Its ribs showed through its skin. Its eyes were dull, at first. Mira approached with no hesitation. She examined the setup. Multiple chains, silver threading, magical locks. Whoever did this wanted it to suffer, not die. She raised a hand. The energy in her glove pulsed. "What did you do to upset them?" she said, voice cold. "It matters not." She began charging the field. A clean, instant neural shutdown. One pulse and the creature would never feel pain again. Then it looked at her. Its eye, one swollen shut, the other clear and ancient, locked onto hers. And everything stopped. Mira's heart slowed. Her hand trembled. Something tore into her, not physically but deep, spiritual, soul-level recognition. She froze. The field in her glove fizzled out. "Interesting." Her voice was quieter now. She stepped closer, her mind still in turmoil. "Let's find out your story, shall we? Then we'll decide if you live or perish." She adjusted her glove, input in a rapid neural interface sequence. A light pulsed over the pup's temple, and suddenly, memory flood. She was inside. She saw the first alpha, a towering beast, unlike anything that exists now, regal, commanding, divine. She saw him step forward in honor-bound combat, a sacred challenge against a rival alpha. The battle was brutal, primal, and sacred. But in the final moments, when the first alpha held dominance, the challenger cheated. Poison, silver-laced fangs. It was hidden, forbidden, but effective. The first alpha fell, not by strength, by treachery. His blood soaked the stone, his howl was silenced, and from that dishonor, a false bloodline took the throne. She saw a group of loyal lycans fleeing, carrying a pup. This pup. They hid it in the mountains, but they were found. The rival pack slaughtered the loyalists, laughing as they turned on the infant. They tried to kill it, burn it, break it, tear it. But it would not die, because it could not. A curse or a blessing. The pup could only be slain by another alpha. So they kept it. They beat it for pleasure. They fed it scraps, just enough to live, and never enough to grow. Years, decades, the pain, the isolation, the hunger. It had never known anything else. And yet, it lived. Return to the cave. Mira staggered back from the memory connection. Her glove dimmed. The pup lay on the ground, breathing slow and shallow. Mira stared at it. A tear fell. She blinked, surprised. She wiped it away. "Interesting," she whispered. "That part of me still lives." She looked at her trembling hands, confused, angry. Her mind screamed to leave, that it was a liability, a distraction, a tool, nothing more, but something else, quieter, ancient, whispered, "This is what makes you different." She examined the pup clinically. Blood work patterns, starvation effects, magical suppression. It was small not because of age, but because of controlled deprivation. Its growth stunted, its strength chained by design. "Fascinating," she murmured. Then she stood in silence. Minutes passed. Her mind fought itself. One side wanted to leave the creature, the other wanted to save it. Finally, she knelt. The locks melted under her touch. The collar fell. The pup barely moved. "You can't walk." She knelt beside it. "Typical." She picked it up, gently, despite herself. Its head rested against her shoulder. "You'd better come with me," she said softly. "I may not care about much anymore, but I think I care about you." And with a shift of shadow, they vanished. The safe house buzzed softly. Screens glowed. Machines hummed. In the centre of the lab, Mira stood over the pup, now laid gently on a diagnostic table. Sensors moved over its frame in rhythmic pulses of red and white. "Vitals should be flatlined," she muttered. "Ruptured organs, cellular degradation, neurological shutdown. Yet here you are." She studied the readouts. "Something is keeping you alive. Not science, not physiology, something supernatural." Her fingers danced across the console. Her mind worked faster than any system around her. "Let's get you back to full strength, shall we?" Time passed. Over the following days, she mapped the pup's exact nutritional needs, its caloric requirements to the gram. Protein, fiber, hydration, trace elements, regeneration sequencing. She designed a recovery plan that would take a team of specialists to run, and she handled it alone. Every movement, every micro-expression from the pup. She understood it. And slowly, the pup began to heal. Its coat grew thick again. The hollow look in its eyes faded. Muscles formed. Limbs steadied. It didn't grow much larger. It was still a pup, but it stood with strength now. Purpose. One day, the door slid open, and it raced toward her. She turned with a small, rare smile as the creature leapt into her arms. She held it close, like a child. And for a moment, she laughed. It was real. Then her expression hardened. She placed the pup down and looked directly into its golden eyes. Her tone shifted, not cruel, but intense, focused. "I too want vengeance," she said, voice like a blade. "But mine can never be had. My father died for me, but he didn't live for me. He left me behind." She knelt beside the pup. "You, however, you were robbed of a throne. You were chained, tortured, your ancestors betrayed, and the ones who walk free now, they wear the crown your line bled to protect." The pup growled quietly. She nodded. "Yes, we could march in there now. I could wipe them all out. I would enjoy it. I'd savour it." Her eyes glowed faintly. "But that wouldn't help you." She reached out and gently touched the pup's scarred shoulder. "You must be the one to defeat them, to rise. It will take time, training, pain. But that is something we have plenty of." A pause. Then she added, as if answering a silent question, "Yes, I saved you. Yes, I will protect you until you no longer need me to." An uninvited distraction. Suddenly, a terminal buzzed. Bright red flashed on a nearby monitor. Mira turned her head slightly. "Oh, look," she said with a smirk. "Playtime." On the screen, a lycan search party. Big, fast, brutal. 10 of them, charging through the trees like demons, tracking the faint remnants of her presence. She glanced at the pup. "Would you like some action, my friend?" The pup's ears perked up. They vanished into the shadows. Outside the safe house perimeter, the lycans screeched to a halt as Mira and the pup appeared before them. Their snarls became a chorus of rage and hunger. She stood unflinching. "You found me," she said. "Let's see if that was a good idea." She raised her arm, not to kill, but to disrupt. The glove activated. A pulse scattered through the air. The lycans slowed. Their movements dulled. Their senses fogged. Their strength diminished. She looked at the pup. "Now!" she shouted. "Kill them all!" The pup responded without hesitation. It blurred into motion, small but savage, a fury born of legacy and torment. It tore through the first lycan's throat, crushed the second's skull against stone. The rest tried to rally, but fear bloomed. It wasn't the size. It wasn't the speed. It was the scream of something ancient, something that had been wronged and would never be wronged again. Mira stood still, watching. She didn't interfere. She smiled, and for once it was genuine. Mira stood silently before the screen in her private chamber, the flickering data streams flashing across her eyes. Her mind sifted through symbols, glyphs, and fragments from decrypted old-world archives. A word blinked at the center. "Listener." She whispered it. The screen showed little. Scraps of ancient texts, half-rendered mythological references, disjointed theological notations. "The lycan god," she said aloud. She tilted her head. "Is this the source of the energy that sustains him?" She looked back at the pup, seated obediently at her side. Though healed, it still radiated a strange aura, something Mira couldn't fully chart. "There is no energy I cannot understand," she murmured. "Yet this one hides from me, eludes classification. Is it divine?" She turned back to the screen. "Are there truly beings who defy our physics, our science? If so, I must know their power." Mira turned to the pup, eyes locked with its ancient stare. "Come," she said. "We need to visit an old friend." She'll know of these gods, if they ever existed. The farmhouse. Storm clouds loomed as Mira and the pup emerged from shadow on the edge of the compound. The grass didn't rustle beneath them. The very air around them bent slightly, as though the world itself recognised what she had become. Inside, the mood was grim. Veyron lay on a stone slab, his form flickering, more shadow than substance. His body had not healed, not even close. For months, he had been trapped between dimensions, bleeding into the darkness like vapour. Ilaria stood above him, eyes sharp, voice bitter. "I can do nothing, Veyron. Only Nocturna knows your fate now." Then her body tensed. Every instinct flared. A warning in her bones. Mira, standing in the shadows, a lycan alpha by her side. "Veyron!" she cried out, staggering back. "Get away from him!" But Veyron barely stirred. Mira raised a hand. "Be still. This one's with me." The pup sat calmly at her feet, watching, silent, poised. "That is an alpha," Ilaria hissed. "I can feel its power." Yes, yes, Mira replied dryly. "Let's skip the dramatics." She stepped forward, eyes already scanning the room. "Ilaria, tell me what you know of Lessinor." Ilaria blinked. "That name hasn't been spoken in centuries." "It's the name of a god," Mira continued. "But who? What? I want to study it." Ilaria frowned. "You cannot study a god." Mira raised an eyebrow. "Can't I?" Ilaria lowered her voice. "The gods have not been felt since the fall, since the beginning of all this. But this one," she gestured to the pup, "is still tethered to something. Strongly. That connection has never been broken." Mira turned towards Veyron. For the first time since entering, her expression shifted, not to fear or sorrow, but intense curiosity. "What happened to him?" "He was injured," Ilaria said quietly. "An elder attacked the farmhouse. One of the old ones. Veyron held him off, but his body has been pulled into the shadow ever since." "How long?" Mira asked, eyes narrowing. "Months." Mira stepped closer. Her gauntlet pulsed. "Step back," she said. Her fingers moved, typing in a blur of commands. Blue light flickered, mapping the fragments of Veyron's body, what remained in physical form and what had become pure shadow. Her glove buzzed. Data flooded the air. Energy readings, waveforms, biofeedback. Seconds passed, then minutes. Mira stepped back, held up her hand. The gauntlet, pulsing with a new frequency. A blue aura rippled through the room, laced with soundless vibration. The air seemed to tighten. She released the pulse. It spread through Veyron's body like silk through ink. The shadows around him, instead of absorbing the light, solidified, and slowly he rose. For the first time in months, he stood upright. He looked down at his hands, then at Mira. "I told you," he said to Ilaria. "She's the chosen one." Mira exhaled impatiently. "Nonsense. It was simple, really." She turned to the group, her voice switching to a sharp, almost academic tone. The injury pulled his structure partially into the shadow plane. The issue was not physical, but dimensional. His matter was being devoured on a spectral layer. Once I analysed the pulse patterns and used a simulated infrared spectrum matched with counter-frequency blue light, I simply re-established physical coherence by temporally fusing quantum shadows to their molecular counterparts. Think of it like locking scattered puzzle pieces into place with light. They just stared. She frowned. Honestly, I'm beginning to think I really am the smartest person alive. The safe house lab was quiet now, the data monitors dim, but tension still charged the air like a coiled storm. Mira stood beside the pup, arms folded, mind miles away. Ilaria and Veyron stood nearby, eyes fixed on her, but not entirely sure what she had become. I don't want the others to know I've returned, Mira said, her voice like cold metal. Not yet. Veyron frowned. They would want to see you. They think... I know what they think, she interrupted, but I do not know how I would perceive them. She turned to face them both fully. And that makes me dangerous. There was silence. Now, Mira continued, shifting the focus. Tell me everything you know about these divine beings, the gods. Time passed. They spoke for hours, of old myths, of Nocturna, of Lysanor, the god of the lycans, and the last believed to still influence the world, of the whispered ones who vanished when the war of blood and shadow began. They spoke of portals closed long ago, of realms unreachable, of divine energy hidden in bloodlines, and the ancient prophecy whispered only among the oldest of elders. Mira absorbed it all like a machine, every name, every tale, every flaw in the old legends catalogued and stored in the vast corridors of her mind. Then she stood. I must leave, she said simply. Where will you go? Ilaria asked. Her hand touched the pup's head gently. It pressed closer to her leg. Veyron looked at the small beast with uneasy respect. I never thought I'd be in the same room as an alpha, especially one that didn't want to kill me. Mira turned slowly, her eyes dimmed, her tone hollow. Do you want me to kill this elder of yours? No anger, no sarcasm, just blank calculation, as if it were a menu item. Kill or not. It made no difference. Ilaria's expression stiffened. No. She stepped forward. He is ours. This battle is not yours. As you wish, Mira said, with the slightest bow of her head. We will meet again. Veyron nodded. I have no doubt. And in an instant, Mira and the pup vanished, lost once more to shadow. Ilaria and Veyron stood in silence. The hum of the lab faded. Only the cold remained. Veyron spoke first. She is the one. His voice held no hesitation. No one but the prophesied could tame a lycan, an alpha no less, and restore an elder from the edge of destruction. And yet... He trailed off. Ilaria stared at the door Mira had vanished through. And yet, she echoed, she walks a razor's edge. I see the power in her, but I also see the void, the darkness growing around it. Still, Veyron said softly, darkness or not, she will decide this world's fate. Ilaria looked down, deep in thought. Then her expression sharpened. Enough prophecy. She turned to him fully. Now let's figure out how we kill Azareth. Azareth. Darkness embraced him like a second skin. Deep in a collapsed crypt somewhere far from light, Azareth crouched, his body half regenerated. Shadow wrapped around his form like smoke over burning stone. Ancient runes along the cracked walls glowed faintly with corrupted energy. Wounded, humiliated, hungry, and above all, furious. His voice slithered through the still air like poison. You hoard all the humans for yourselves. His claws raked against the stone as he spoke. "We are elders. I am a high elder. You should not only share—" He turned, eyes gleaming red. "You should submit." Flesh peeled from one arm began to regrow, pulsing with blackened blood. "If you will not, then I will take, by right, and if that means killing you both, so be it." He rose, his bones cracked and reset. Then he lifted his eyes to the ceiling above, where moonlight barely trickled through old stone cracks. "Nocturna," he whispered. "You who were once our saviour, our guide, where are you now?" Silence. His voice rose into a feral growl. "We begged. We bled. We fought in your name. And you ignored us." He paused, breathing heavily. "Unstable. Burning. Once I could feel you. In the wind, in the dark, in the pull of blood and shadow. Now I feel nothing." He slammed a fist against the ground, shattering it. "You vanished. You left us to rot in this nightmare." Then he smiled, a twisted, cracked smile. "No matter. If you will not be our god, then I will be." His voice softened, darker still. "I will save the elders. I will reign, even if I must bathe in the blood of every last one of them." He turned to the darkness beyond. "But first," his tongue ran over his teeth, "I must feed." Mira. Back in her isolated stronghold, Mira stood before a series of glowing screens. Her safe house, once dormant, was alive with silent energy. Streams of information danced across displays, faster than the eye could follow. Her hands moved in sync with them, navigating layers of encrypted data, collapsing complex codes, rebuilding impossible theories, unblinking, tireless. Her voice was calm but cold. "They say there were once gods." Images flashed on the screens, ruins, ancient symbols, flickers of long-dead civilizations. "Now they're gone." Her hands paused over one particular file, her father's. "And I find no trace of your death, father." The screen displayed Simon Winter, no date of death, no physical remains, nothing beyond speculation. "I was told you died, but there is no evidence of that. No record. Nothing." She leaned forward. "It's as if you just vanished." A long pause. Her gaze shifted to a separate screen, one displaying Davin energy mappings. "Just like they're gods." She stepped back from the terminal, exhaling slowly, then turned. The pup looked up at her from its curled position, still small, but unmistakably powerful. Its golden eyes met hers without flinching, and Mira smiled, soft, almost human. "I have an anchor now." She knelt beside the pup, brushing her fingers through its fur. "You, this alpha, this unfinished legacy, you must fulfill your destiny." She stood again, speaking to the shadows as much as herself. "Maybe then we can reconnect to whatever divine forces still linger. Maybe then I will find you, Father." Her hands clasped behind her back. She walked towards the giant circular map on the wall, locations pinned, paths tracked, her voice low. "Something happened long ago. Something made them vanish, or go somewhere else." Her eyes narrowed. "I just need to find out where." End of part 6. To be continued in part 7.